You know, if you gathered up every single piece of gold ever mined in human history, all of it, you'd end up with a cube that's, believe it or not, small enough to fit neatly inside a baseball diamond. And yet, this one shiny rock has driven us to exploration, to conquest, to become absolutely obsessed for thousands of years. So, what is it about this stuff? Let's dig in.
I mean, it's a really fascinating puzzle when you think about it. Gold has very little practical use for survival. You can't eat it, and it's definitely not going to keep you warm at night. So why? Why have we built entire empires on it, fought brutal wars over it, and why do we still value it so much today? That's the core question we're going to unravel. Okay, so where is all this gold today? Well, almost half of it is in jewelry and decoration. You know, making things look nice. A tiny little slice goes into tech. Yep, there's gold in your phone. But here's the wild part. A huge chunk of it is just sitting there. Literally sitting as gold bars in vaults around the world, gathering dust. That just makes the mystery even deeper, doesn't it?
To really get our heads around this obsession, we have to go way back, right back to the very beginning, because the story of why gold is valuable, it doesn't start with economics. Nope. It starts with physics, chemistry, and honestly, a whole lot of human psychology. So get this, the gold we have here on Earth, it literally came from outer space. It was forged in the heart of exploding stars and then delivered to us on asteroids. How wild is that? And the reason it has that unique, sun-like shine, it's because its atoms have electrons that absorb blue light. But the real kicker is this. It doesn't rust. It doesn't tarnish. It is, for all intents and purposes, incorruptible, eternal. So you can imagine, for early civilizations, from the Inca to the Egyptians, this stuff must have felt truly magical. All right, so it's pretty, and it lasts forever, we've established that. But how in the world did we make the jump from just admiring a shiny rock to building our entire economic system on top of it? Well, this required what you could call our first great psychological leap.
Think about early societies. They used what we call commodity money, things that had real practical value. Take cattle, for instance. You can eat them, that's great, but they're kind of hard to divide, they die, and they're a real pain to lug around for trade. Gold, on the other hand, solved all of those problems. It's super portable, you can easily divide it, and it lasts forever. But there was still one crucial ingredient missing. And that missing ingredient is this: collective belief. It's a shared story. It's as simple as this. If I believe gold is valuable, and you believe gold is valuable, then guess what? It becomes valuable. It's not just a metal anymore. It's a system, a shared agreement we all buy into. And that belief, that's the magic trick that turns a shiny, basically useless rock into money. And this belief, boy, it could become a fever. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas, they didn't see gold the way the Aztecs did, as a beautiful material for decorating temples. No, they saw it as wealth itself. This powerful quote shows just how that belief fueled a mania, a conquest that literally reshaped the world. So, for centuries, physical gold was money. But let's be honest, carrying around a bunch of heavy gold coins is pretty inconvenient, not to mention risky. This little problem led to our second major psychological leap: trusting a simple piece of paper. And that's exactly what the gold standard was all about. A dollar bill back in the day wasn't really valuable on its own. It was basically a claim check, an IOU from a bank. It was a promise that you could walk in at any time, hand over that piece of paper, and they would give you a specific amount of real, physical gold from their vault. So you see what's happening, right? We were no longer just trusting the metal. Now we had to trust an institution, the bank, to actually keep its promise. Our whole idea of money was getting more and more abstract. But this system had a huge vulnerability, one that would force our next and most radical leap yet. Okay, so what happens when a massive global economic crisis hits and that promise of gold actually becomes a roadblock to fixing things? Well, that's exactly the problem the world slammed into in the 20th century. And this timeline really shows how the whole system came apart, piece by piece. In 1913, the Federal Reserve is created to manage things. Then, smack in the middle of the Great Depression, FDR effectively takes the U.S. off the gold standard for its own citizens. And finally, in 1971, President Nixon officially closes the gold window, severing the dollar's very last link to gold. Just like that, the promise was broken. So here's the core problem they faced. During the Great Depression, the economy was in a freefall. It desperately needed a boost, more money flowing through the system.
But under the gold standard, the government's hands were tied. They couldn't just print more dollars, because the amount of money was strictly limited by how much gold they had in their vaults. The system was just too rigid for a modern crisis.
And so, we took the final leap. Today, we all use what's called fiat money. Your dollar bill isn't backed by gold. It's backed only by our collective faith and trust in the government that issues it. Its value comes purely from a decree, a promise from the government that it's worth something.
So if our money is now just a promise from a government, why on earth is this ancient metal suddenly so popular again? In our super complex digital world, why are people turning back to gold? Well, this chart tells a pretty shocking story. Central banks, the very institutions that manage all this modern fiat money, have been on an absolute gold buying spree. After decades of selling it off, governments all over the world are hoarding gold again in record-breaking amounts. And the reasons why are all tied directly to the system that replaced it. People buy gold when they're worried about inflation eating away at the value of their paper money, or during times of economic and political chaos. It's a safe haven. Essentially, when trust in those government promises starts to fade, the allure of a real, tangible, eternal asset, well, it gets a whole lot stronger. So this table really sums up the whole incredible journey. We went from bartering things we actually need, like cattle, to trading a metal we all simply believe in, to trading paper that represents that metal, and finally to trading a pure promise from a government. It's been an unbelievable journey of abstraction. And that brings us right back to where we started. The story of gold, it isn't really about a metal. It's the story of human trust. We've built our entire global economy on a series of promises. But gold, it's always there in the background, a physical, unchanging anchor. And it leaves us with a really big question for our modern age. In a world of fleeting digital promises, what is the ultimate value of something that truly lasts